As we've been hearing, Jordan has been providing asylum to hundreds of thousands of refugees fleeing the war in Syria. Sophie Claudet brings this in-depth report on the plight of refugees and how Jordan is coping with the challenge.
Behind this wall is the Atari refugee camp in northern Jordan, some 10 kilometers from the Syrian border. Opened in July 2012, it's now a real town, home to 79,000 Syrian refugees. Most are from neighbouring southern Syria, and in particular the Daraa region, where the uprising began in March 2011. The camp is run by the UN and the Jordanian government. Thousands of tents initially provided for the influx of refugees have given way to prefab homes, a sign that the camp is here to last.
We are definitely investing in the infrastructure in the camp, simply also because it's more dignified and cheaper. So if the camp stays for another year, it will be much cheaper for us to invest now in water and sanitation and electricity than continuing doing things from an emergency perspective. Assalamu alaikum. Marhaba.
Can we have more electricity?
But we've increased it.
By 1 hour?
No, 2 hours.
We'd like it in the afternoon.
But others have told me it's cold at night and they need the heating on.
But I'd like to see the news in the afternoon. I go to bed at 10 so I can get up early to pray.
We used to have 24/7 electricity, but it was unsustainable. Our bill reached almost $1 million a month. So what we did, we started giving rationing electricity.
The UN has received less than 40% of the funds it needs for this year, and it shows. It's not what these families would choose, but rationed electricity is better than living under bombs in Syria.
We've adapted to life here. It was too hard in Syria. The bombardments, the planes. Here my children are safe. If I sent my son to get bread, Hamoude for example, if you could find bread there, then there might be a plane dropping a bomb on the street. Here's my son Bassam and my wife Fadwa Nasser. My son Bilal was working in the fields and a tank fired a shell. It's miraculous he's alive, really. It's a miracle if you saw his arm. Show her your arm.
I can move my arm a bit, but I can't work.
Many families decided to leave the camp. Some returned to Syria, like Ibrahim's mother, who could no longer cope with the harsh conditions of the camp. Some went elsewhere in Jordan. Others set out for Europe.
We would like to leave here, but this is not possible. It takes money. We need to rent a house. We need to find work. But there's no work outside the camp.
The main reason families stay in the camp is the supermarket, where the food is free, thanks to the World Food Programme. But one of the officials is concerned about the shortage of funds.
We take the prices and we start.
What really worries me is the spring next year. And if we don't have the funding to be able to keep providing the basic needs, and we're not talking about luxury living, we're talking about very basic accommodation, often substandard. We're talking about education for children, which is obviously essential for the future, and food and water. I think that the Syrians will feel they have no option but to go and look elsewhere. So for me, it's extremely important that the funding keeps coming, and I'm not confident that it will.
A town, an entire community has been recreated in Atari. Yet most of the more than 1 million Syrian refugees in Jordan prefer to live outside the camp, in Jordanian towns where, far from their country, they find a semblance of normality. In Mafraq, a few kilometers from the camp, the Syrians also benefit from the solidarity of the Jordanian government and UN subsidies. Hospital care is free. Here, last year, nearly 3,000 Syrian children were born. Almost half of the patients are refugees. What's he called?
Omar.
How old is he?
A year and a half.
Was he born here?
Yes, I had him here in Jordan. And when I gave birth, I didn't have to pay. People are very kind to us here.
More than half of Mafraq's population are refugees. Faced with a huge influx of families, the government opened the schools to thousands of Syrian children.
Education is free. The books too. Thank God things are going well here.
This afternoon, it's the Syrian kids in class. The Jordanians come in the morning. Between the lessons, the classrooms have to be set up again quickly.
There were many Jordanians enrolled in this school, but when we introduced the system of 2 teaching sessions per day to accommodate Syrians, some Jordanian families withdrew their children to have a full day in other schools where there are no refugees. It's true that school for the Jordanians has been affected by the presence of the Syrians.
Living outside the refugee camps has a cost. Apart from the free schooling and healthcare and occasional basic UN food aid, Syrians in Mafraq have to provide for the rest of their needs themselves. We meet Hanan, originally from Damascus, a housewife in Syria. She's the breadwinner here.
I work, yes. I make Oriental food that I sell to people here.
And you worked in Damascus?
No.
It's a big change for you.
I have no choice. We have to adapt since we can't work here legally. When we arrived, my husband worked, but employment officials intervened. It's completely forbidden here, and if you get caught, you're sent directly to the refugee camp, and I can't live in the camp. I tried, but I couldn't stand it.
Even if working is illegal, her husband hasn't given up hope.
I want to try to work, but at night, when there's no monitoring by the employment officials, in any sector, security, in a restaurant, a cafe.
The huge influx of Syrians is causing resentment among a local population burdened by unemployment and poverty. They complain of the large numbers in schools, in their hospitals, and above all, in the labour market, in defiance of the work ban.
The Syrians will do any work, no matter what job, and for less.
We've lost a lot. Before, I earned up to 20, 25 dinars a day. Now I struggle to get 10.
Sorry, Poppy. To find out more about the economic impact of the Syrian influx, in Amman we met the minister dealing with the refugee crisis. Allowing Syrians to work is being considered, he tells us. One day they could earn wages and pay tax, which would relieve the economy. But the most pressing concern is the lack of international aid.
And we are worried because we are seeing donor fatigue. We continue to keep our open door policy. We continue to have Syrians benefit economically and remain integrated all across our towns and villages in Jordan. And this is out of the Jordanian value system. Look at it from the other end. When the refugees are in Europe, it is costing Europe at a minimum 4 to 5 times if they had spent the money in neighboring countries to Syria to have kept the refugees in these countries, where they would have probably been closer to their home and they could be close to re-engage in the reconstruction of their country, hopefully when that opportunity arises.
To return home is a dream shared by all the Syrians we met. But the wait will be long, as they know all too well. And while Jordan still has the means to host them, it's here that they must try to rebuild their lives.